Hello traders and welcome back. I'm Natalie MacDonald and you're watching Sydney Direct on Dukascopy TV. This week I'm reporting from the FSC annual conference taking place in the Gold Coast. One of the topics has been the value proposition chain and changes being made in the funds management sector. I spoke to Grant Forster, CEO of Principal Global Investors, to find out a little bit more information on how this could be shaping the sector. Greg Forster, many thanks for taking the time to chat with Dukascopy TV today. It's a pleasure to welcome you.
Thank you for having me.
So today we're talking about the funds management sector. And tell us firstly, have you noticed a change in the value proposition change within this sector?
The government here in Australia have been very vocal around trying to get a better value proposition in their eyes for superannuants. We're a mandated environment, so now we're getting to a scale where the government's getting far more interested and perhaps paternal about how we run our superannuation funds. So there's a pressure on fees. So that value proposition is seeing fees come down, or the government's influence is seeing fees start to come down. Interestingly, the market's environment is at a point where interest rates are low, 2% historic low, and they're going to stay lower for longer, in our opinion, at the principal. What does that mean for Australian investors? They're going to have to diversify away from Australian equities, which for 100 years have been a great place to be, and they're going to have to find other solutions other than putting the rest of their money in cash and property. We've traditionally had high interest rates and cash has been a good place to have money. But the last 5 years in particular, rates have come down. Aussie equities have well underperformed international equities. So it's now time to think about the value proposition that we as fund managers can provide in those circumstances.
So how is this changing the way perhaps that fund managers do go about their business?
We are looking further and further abroad for investors. Superannuation funds themselves are becoming more skilled. They're adding investment people to their teams so that they are in a better place to invest more broadly, because they see the tsunami of aging coming along just at a time when interest rates are very low and making it hard to find returns. So they're engaged in looking broader, and fund managers are in the position to provide those services, to perhaps to look for offshore property opportunities in the US, or technology sector investments, healthcare. Those sorts of opportunities are not currently available in Australia. So the fund manager is demonstrating our value to superannuation funds at a time when superannuation funds arguably are needing that sort of diversity more than ever.
How then are these developments likely to change for the client's experience, and how subsequently does that shape your outlook for the sector moving forwards?
The client, or the superannuant, the retiree, we're in a world now where in the old days, our parents' generation, they had great defined benefit plans. All they knew, and this is a global experience, they were getting a certain amount of income in retirement paid by their company or the government. Those days stopped in Australia 25 years ago. So we're in a world where risk has been transferred from a company or a government to the individual. So the individual wants to have a comfort level in knowing how their superannuation is going to pan out. So fund managers' role in this is working with superannuation funds on product design. So a lot of conversations going on now, perhaps more than they did 20, 30 years ago, where we just simply had balanced growth conservative. Now superannuation funds are trying to design product really to take the place of DB, at least conceptually. And that needs resources. It needs large fund managers who've got a global awareness of what low interest rates can do. Our clients in Japan and Europe have been under very low interest rates for years.
You commented recently on the growing pragmatism of investors. Can you expand on those comments for us?
It is more of this move along with low interest rates to a more absolute return environment, a pragmatism. So at the institutional level, this means we're no longer going to say we've got 25 to 30% in Australian equities. More likely, they're going to say we need to look at our portfolio on a risk basis. We'll have some in growth, potentially some in income. But they're also going to say, you know what, at this point in time, we need to have a very low exposure to whatever it is, Australian equities, or even fixed income. That's probably more happening at the moment. They're saying, you know what, fixed income isn't providing what we need. We're going to be pragmatic. We're throwing out some of those older rules, or at least those guidelines, and for the time being, we're going to take different positions. Might be property, might be infrastructure. But that's what we mean by pragmatism, that they're thinking in more absolute terms, and risk is more thought about than certainly it was at any time in the past.
Grant, many thanks for your time today. We much appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Sadly, that is all we've got time for right now, but do not fear, I'll be back with plenty more exclusive interviews for you right here from the heart of the APAC region. For now, it's goodbye.